Good morning, folks, and welcome to Power to Negotiate. Today's session is going to be on obstacles and how every obstacle is an opportunity rightly considered. And you say, Reed, what exactly does that mean? Every time that you see an obstacle, I want you to just take a pause and ask yourself, okay, I had this obstacle. How can I turn this into an advantage? How can I turn this into an opportunity that no one else is going to see? Years ago, I was approached by a realtor, and they had a 38-acre parcel that they wanted to sell. And the 38-acre parcel had a canal going through the middle of it. And the back 20 acres was swampland. But the front 18 acres was on the highway, and it was high and dry for the most part. And what I did was I asked myself, could I make enough money on the front 18 acres to make it worth my while? And so what I did was I bought the property, I developed the front 18 acres, and I gave the back 20 acres to the state because it was contiguous to a state park. So I turned an obstacle into an opportunity. Back 71, my parents decided to start an RV park with the rest of our family. And we had land up in Michigan. Went ahead and sold that. We came down here, and everything that we bought was 3 times more expensive than we had budgeted for. And so we were always under budget. We didn't have enough money to do everything the right way. So what we did was we had to work hard and we had to work smart. An example of that was when we first started, we didn't have the money to go to a billboard company and have them do professional billboards. So what we did was we had a logo, a blue parrot, and my mom and her 2 sisters, they would spend days working on these signs, and we would cut out in outdoor plywood a huge blue parrot, and then we would have underneath it 2 miles on the right hand side. And just by looking at this logo, people were able to say, there's blue parrot. And it was such a unique and memorable logo that it caught on, and it was very, very popular. Now, what would have happened if we'd had the money to hire a billboard company? What they would have done is they would have had their lowest paid person get something out of their stock pages, and they would have said, here's a parrot, go ahead and throw that on there, and say blue parrot, that's good enough. And it would have looked terrible. But instead, because we were forced to improvise, we came up with something that was memorable and helped us grow the park. When we first started out at Blue Parrot, we did not have a lot of knowledge about how to run the park in the most efficient and effective way. And if you went through the park at night, you go through the park and all of the campers would have Christmas tree lights out, and they were just burning electricity. And we paid for that. And we went to this one Campground Owners Association meeting, and they mentioned that you should always have the electrical meters, all the sites metered, so people paid for their own electric. And we went ahead and did that. And the next year, our costs went down $50,000. And so we turned an obstacle into an opportunity because once they had their own meter, what they would do is they would stay longer because they felt that they had ownership there. Also, another thing, because we wanted people to stay longer, we went ahead and gave away our labor for a concrete slab. You can say, Reed, what do you mean by that? What we would tell them is, if you'll pay for the concrete, we will pour a 10-foot by 30-foot concrete slab just outside your trailer door, and we'll go ahead and do all the finishing on this. And we went ahead and worked hard on that. But once they had that concrete slab, guess what they would do? They put in a Florida room. And we would then charge them 6 months full rent and 6 months storage. And that was something that changed our entire profitability standard, because before we might have someone that was down for 3 months because they weren't tied in. Once we had them tied in, that's when we started making a lot of profit. In every circumstance, I want you to always be asking, what is the obstacle? If you're talking to a seller, what is the biggest problem that they have? If they say the price is too low, how do you change that obstacle into something that will work for you. One of the ways you can do that is to ask them, well, Mr. Seller, when you say the price is too low, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean you don't have enough money to pay for the closing? Do you mean that you don't have enough money to do what you want to do? Let's take a look at this from a different alternative. What would happen if I don't buy the property? What's going to happen to you then? And use the dreadful alternative. The dreadful alternative is, what's going to happen to the sellers if I don't purchase the property today? Use the dreadful alternative rather than using your cash as a primary motivation and negotiating tool. But in everything that you do, always try to turn an obstacle into an opportunity, because when you do that, you're going to find that there are no obstacles. There's just an awful lot of opportunities.